And after an incredibly long game two here between HypE Esports and Pendulum, HypE manages to put themselves in the driver's seat with a 2-0 lead. They're just one away from punching their tickets to the finals. Thanks for continuing to join us here. I'm Random Minion Caster, and alongside me for this extremely long series has been Chaotic Obsidian. And Chaotic, how are you feeling after that long game two? You ready for a game three?
Well, I did have to get some more water. I almost made it through the whole glass during that game, but I'm ready for game three. I just want to see what these comps are going to bring. I just want to know if Pendulum decides to switch anything up. As you know, we've got the picks here. Let's walk through them.
For sure. And on the blue side this game, it's going to be Pendulum. So they get first pick, first ban here. No changes to either roster. HypE on the red side here. So the bans coming across are going to be Xerath, Senna, Teemo, Braum, and Nami for Pendulum. They are going to ban out that Teemo against Rings here. And for HypE Esports, they're going with Diana, Yasuo, Vi, Jarvan, and Olaf for their bans. Now in terms of picks, Pendulum happy with Killer No Ninja on Leone. They're going to pick a Nico. That's a new one. Nar, Misfortune. There you go, Chaotic Obsidian. They get that Misfortune like you wanted. The Wukong as well. And for HypE Esports, they go Orianna, Mordekaiser, Sejuani, Lulu, and Kog'Maw. And I'm just going to put a disclaimer out here. Normally, you see that Orianna, Mordekaiser, you're thinking it's going to be an Ori mid and Mord top. But this is Rinks. And at this point, I'm about 80% sure that's going to be Rinks on Orianna. I don't know if he's going to go mid with it or whether he'll take it top. But I'm assuming Rinks is going to be playing that Orianna one way or another here.
Yeah, I mean, it could go either way. We've seen Tommy Peppers on Orianna 2 out of the 3 games, but we've seen him on Mordekaiser 1 out of the 3 games in the last series that these two played. So it's possible that it could just be the mid lane Mord or Ori. It's really hard to say. But, they've been keeping the core of their composition pretty similar. This time they go for a more hyper damage bot lane. Regis Toe has had a really good series so far, I think. His Senna play was really good in game 1, and then his Ashe in game 2 was probably a significant improvement. A lot of times just kind of carrying some of the damage in that fight. He did, however, tend to overstep a little bit, and Braum couldn't really bail him out. So I like the Lulu pick here. Lulu Kog'Maw is also a really classic lane. So we'll see how they manage to play around this one. They're going to be going up against a really aggressive bot lane. So if Pendulum plays it right, they should be able to get some kills down here with Leona MF. That is a powerhouse of a bot lane. But outside of lane, we're going to have to see if Pendulum still has those same issues that they did in game 2.
For sure. And I mean, it's two classic compositions as well. On the blue side for Pendulum, you've got that sort of bullet time composition, but you've got tons of AoE lockdown. You've got the Solar Flare, you've got the Nico ultimate, you've got the Cyclone as well. Killer Unicorns on that Nar, Mega Nar, a ton of CC in fights as well. So everything just revolving around that one big 5v5. And on the side of HypE Esports, that's your quintessential protect the Kog'Maw comp. You've got the Orianna, you've got, as you said, the classic Lulu Kog'Maw bot lane. Lots of shields, lots of heals, lots of health for Ray here to really pop off. And given Ray's performance, given the amount of damage he's been able to put out in these 2 games, I don't think it's misplaced at all to put all their eggs into that Ray basket here. Well, I say all their eggs, but they also do have Tommy Peppers on a Mordekaiser as well. And we saw Killer Unicorns pop off on it, so I'm looking forward to seeing if Tommy can pop off on it as well. And now, given the way these compositions run, what do you think are going to be the key conditions here for the teams? Who do you think is going to win it here just based on their compositions, Chaotic Obsidian?
Well, considering it hasn't worked out for me the last time I've taken Pendulum Gaming, I got to just double down here again. I think Pendulum Gaming has been taking the better comps. I just don't think that they've been playing them better. I think that HypE has been slightly weaker in the compositions. This one being what I would say is one of their strongest that we've seen so far. Maybe the partial Freljord comp last game was the strongest of the 3. But this one has a lot of potential. The only question I would have here for HypE is Orianna going to be able to get her Shockwave into a good position? You've got the Sejuani, but that's not always the most reliable ball delivery because her Q gets blocked by champions. So the first champion that it's going to hit is going to have to be who Orianna decides to ult. If they decide to do that, if it just becomes the split push Orianna, well, who knows? Maybe we just throw the playbook out the window and we just enjoy the game. But again, I give the lead over to Pendulum Gaming, and just to get back to some stats, Pendulum played Nico the last time that these two teams met, and it was Yasuo only who controlled it, and he went 10-1 in the overall game. So if this is any precursor for what we should see out of Nico, I would say HypE should be pretty worried about it. But as we saw last game, kill score doesn't mean you're going to win the game. In fact, oftentimes it just means that you get too caught up in continuing to get the KDA and you lose focus of everything else.
For sure, as we saw in game 2, that was absolutely massive here. So we'll have to see how this one works out. And to be fair to the side of HypE Esports, to Pendulum here, I mean, or actually more to you than Pendulum, but the draft, I mean, they can have the best drafts in the world, but if you can't execute, you can't execute. And we'll have to see if Pendulum can fix that here, because as a team, I mean, they're actually usually the team to be aggressive, to sort of execute almost sometimes prematurely here, but that's not been the case at all this series, and we'll have to see if they manage to wake up here in time for this one. And now we are seeing both teams splitting up. Looks like they're going to go a defensive one this time. For the first time this series, we're not going to see an invade. Maybe as we see HypE 4-stack here in the top, in near the sort of what used to be the banana bush here. We'll have to see. Are they going to? No, it looks like they're just being defensive here for now. And yeah, I mean, nothing real.
This particular play is one of my favorites. When I know that a team has been invading on me the whole series, I just pick a brush and I 4-stack it. And I just hope to absolutely get that perfect face check.
But it was HypE who's been invading.
Yeah,
they're the one 4-stacking.
Well, sometimes, you know, you get teams mixed up in your head, and that's fine. But I personally like the 4-stack. We'll just have to see if the ward that they get down afterwards is actually worth it to track any of the junglers, or if they're just going to go straight from the 4-stack into the camp, which it looks like they're going to do. So aside from that, not getting the vision down early, I don't mind with the more defensive 4-stack. It's just, there are a lot of different ways to play the level 1s. Not all of them are better than others. Some are, you know, the risky invades are actually probably a little bit worse than the safer one.
For sure, and I think both teams playing it a little safer. Pendulum's back, as I mentioned, is already up against the wall here. They lose this, they lose the semifinals, and after the performance they put on in the regular series, it would be such a waste for them to fall out here. And as for HypE Esports, it's the opposite here. If they can win this one, they finish the series right away, and they don't have to go any further. No risk of a sweep, so they want to play this one safe. And I just want to point out, Rinks on Orianna went to the top lane. I lack words for this.
Yeah, I mean, when you know that you're going to get bullied out in the Gnar matchup, you might as well switch it around, especially if you're picking the flex pick for kind of just this situation anyway. You know, it ultimately, if you are a better player, which we've seen Rinks be able to bully out unicorns in most of the situations on Teemo, Orianna is not quite the same as Teemo, but at least it's a ranged champion. And into Gnar, if you have Mordekaiser there, you're just going to get zoned off pretty hard. Which is why I'd be a little bit concerned about this mid lane matchup. The melee versus range can always be pretty one-sided. If I were Timic, I'd be looking to influence this early, and that's exactly what he's doing here.
Exactly. We're seeing an early level 3 gank with the double buffs here, but Yasuo only might have baited out a little bit far. A flash coming up from Tommy immediately to keep him safe there. The moment he sees Timic coming in, he's going to be just fine. But that is his flash blown, and we've seen Timic look to revisit ganks in flashless lanes here. So Tommy Pepper's going to have to be on his toes for the next 5 minutes here.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's a bad gank. I just think that Yasuo actually kited too far down to the bottom side of the lane. If he kites up and maybe brings Mordekaiser in a little bit more, I think that that's a lot more successful for Wukong, who has a gap closed, but not really much of one. As a big burst goes down there, you know, Nico has some lockdown. I think that they just mismanaged that gank a little bit. Wukong even had the flash, but I don't think they were really looking for it, you know.
Yeah, they didn't want to overextend there, and Tommy Peppers did have the cleanse, so did use it to get out safely here. If he had been ganked a bit further out, he might have burned that one as well. So either way, he's going to be summonerless without summoner spells for the next little while here. And Timic taking advantage of that. He's getting aggressive, going in, looking for what he can steal, but Nonstop Brain already cleared out most of the bottom side jungle. So they're just going to light this up like a Christmas tree instead and get back out, see whether they can try and find Nonstop Brain later.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking into the summoner spells here as well, they actually opted to take a teleport this time on Rinks. He has not taken teleport yet since he's been playing Teemo this whole series, so we'll have to see how influential that becomes for him, or if he even really sacrifices much kill pressure from his solo lane in order to do it. You know, you're not expecting Orianna to be able to solo kill a Gnar very often, but after level 6, it is possible. You know, Orianna does a lot of damage, and if you underestimate her or take too much of a chunk, she can really kill you even without the ignite. So keeping our eye on that, as well as the teleport usage, but more importantly, I think the late game is just going to be a little bit better because of the rotation.
And a nice bit of chunk in that bot lane from Snugglebutt coming across. He's been poked out so far by the range advantage of the Kog'Maw Lulu, but that double up just balancing things out with just one skill there. And surprisingly, they're playing really aggressively, but I think they might have overpushed a little bit. They can't seem to find anything. Top lane Killer Unicorn's going mega, but he misses the building that he was trying to throw there. The rock does not quite land on Rinks. So that's a good chunk of his damage down here. Is he going to look for the stun? He gets that one. Is he going to look for more? He's going to keep on chasing. Rinks out of mana. So he can't even trade back, and he's going to actually opt to flash out here. Not going to stick around, and that's wins right now in the solo lanes for Pendulum.
Yeah, and with the teleport here, no harm in just taking it back, get the full health, get an early item, and teleport back into lane. I would expect Killer Unicorn to do something similar after this wave, if he can push it in on the cannon. If not, then he might just freeze it here, take a quick cheater recall, and then come back with
Snugglebutt being punished in that bot lane for the roam of Killer Lil Ninja. That's the heal burnt very, very early here. And now they're going to turn on to Killer Lil Ninja. What? There is Nonstop Brain waiting on the side, but Snugglebutt turning back around. It's a very, very split fight right now. Snugglebutt once more isolated, and this means that that's two now at the Dragon. They think that's a clone. They're not going for it. They're going to abandon Killer Lil Ninja as well. Instead, they're going to focus maybe on the Scuttle, but they can't get past the Drake. Mountain Drake is in their way. They're finally going to start this one up, and we might see a very, very early 4v4 potentially here. But nope, it looks like Pendulum doesn't want to engage on this one. They don't want to play around. They're just going to keep on farming, and they're just going to clear out vision. The question now is, are they going to start up an early Drake here? Doesn't look like it.
You know, it may not look like it, but it is possible if they want to. They're going to opt just not to do it. They take the safer play. But Sejuani actually took her back this time before coming down here. So I know there's no way that she heard me while this was going on in the broadcast, but at least they're learning in between these little mistakes of just what they did wrong. You know, if I don't have the item advantage, I should be going back to base after my first clear before I start up the second clear, just like she did here. She's going to be much faster through the jungle here, a lot higher health and higher mana, as well as just, in general, being able to smite champions is so much better in these level 4 skirmishes, because that's really about the only time that you're going to be right around the same level of your enemy laners in the bot lane. The level 3 and the level 2 are the only ones you really get the advantage in the solo lane. And then level 4 is really about the only time you can influence the bot lane without being too far behind in levels to do too much.
For sure, and we do see Nonstop Brain showing up in that bot side, helping to shove that wave in, leeching a bit of experience, but that might actually cost them here, as we did see Snugglebutt and Killer Lil Ninja go back to base. They pick up the BF sword mid lane, the claw lands onto Yasuo, he's dragged back in, but a very, very good snare, instantly going to stop the engage for now. And as you said, that range melee matchup, it's really tough for the melee, especially Mordekaiser. No real engage here, and with the CC from Nico, Yasuo only should be fairly safe on this one here.
Yeah, and they're going to take chunks in this matchup. That's just kind of the nature of the range versus melee. If a melee gets onto you, you take more damage, but in general, the melee shouldn't be able to get onto you. The fact that Mordekaiser can actually pull you in and doesn't have resources is a pretty good thing. It makes it one of the better melee matchups into a ranged champion. But you don't see him mid very often in order to really know these matchups. So I'm sure that Yasuo only is just as caught off guard as Tommy Peppers may be by the Nico.
Yeah, and especially considering what the type of champions Tommy Peppers normally plays. And it is going to be first straight going over to Pendulum there. After all that song and dance, all the vision actually lapsed. And it's going to be Pendulum taking advantage of that one there. They get themselves a bit of tankiness. They don't have a true tank yet. I mean, Meganar on Killer Unicorns maybe later. But for now, that Mountain Drake, they're just trying to get it off the way for the Nyx Drake instead.
Yeah, absolutely. And that just happens from Sejuani being topside when she should have been bot side. She took the recall, came back down around level 4, looked to start that dragon or at least stop Wukong on it, but then cleared her bot side into the top side, whereas Wukong appeared to have did the inverses. I'm going to have to stop for a second.
For sure. Everywhere. And topside, Killer Unicorns is getting hunted down. We did see the command shockwave come across, but a beautiful two-man stun to disengage the Glacial Prison, not quite landing from non-stop brain there, and that means that Killer Unicorns will get out alive. Did have to burn his flash though, and we'll have to see if Non-Stop Brain takes advantage of that. He has not really been taking advantage of flash timers throughout the series, but that might change. And now he's looking into the mid lane onto Yasuo only. He messes up the dash in and doesn't get the knock up, and Yasuo only going to just keep on walking back under his turret. Will be safe for now. And Timic is also level 6. The question is, where is he going to go? We've seen the first ultimate from Non-Stop Brain being thrown into that top lane. Where is Timic going to send his?
Yeah, Timic, it's hard to really find the gank targets in either lane because bot is really your only option here, but it just depends how they play the matchup. You know, Nico has some setup as well, but Mordekaiser's pretty tanky, and now that he's level 6, he's just going to pull you into the death realm if you try to gank. So you can't really go for that. The Orianna is generally going to be pretty safe with shield and command dissonance. So really bot's the only option as they look for Lulu. Oh.
Perfect timing from Fluff there, just barely getting back to base in time. And unfortunately for Killer Lil Ninja, he didn't throw the Zenith Blade in, and Ray and Fluff get back to base safely. And we do see the Gromp being stolen by Timic here, so he's punishing the herbivorous Sejuani there. And we have a message from Fluff telling us that he was apparently sweating on that recall because it was kind of dicey. So they did see Killer Lil Ninja just walking in there, and he does get back out. We do see the Berserker's Greaves completed for Ray now, along with that Vampiric Scepter to go along with that Cull. So a lot of little components here, and that means he's going to still struggle in lane against Snugglebutt, who has now completed the Caulfield's Warhammer as well as the BF Sword here.
Yeah, and you know, even just getting out of there, that I would say that's definitely a misplay from Leona, but let's get back into this mid lane.
As we see Yasuo only getting dragged into the Death Realm and the flash coming out, but Tommy Pepper's flashing out as well. He wants to find this kill. He will get it. That's first blood going over the way of Tommy Peppers. Quickly nullified in the bot lane as Timic, where was the first gank? It's going to be in the top lane. He doesn't find an assist though, unfortunately. Instead, it's just going to be Snugglebutt picking that one up with the assistance of Killer Lil Ninja. So despite First Blood going to HypE, it's going to be extremely even in terms of gold. And we have seen this throughout the series here. It does seem that Pendulum actually does farm a little better in lanes. But it's HypE that mostly seems to be able to close these games out.
Yeah, it really does. You know, and if HypE gets the lead going in early into the mid game, it's going to be pretty difficult to come back from them. Usually, from what I've seen in this series alone, you know, I can't say that it's been down to the draft. It's just been down to the macro execution. Pendulum has not looked to be the kind of team to really fight well around objectives.
There is a fight around the objective, as you just said, and it is going to be Pendulum being forced out. Timic extremely low. Tommy Pepper's looking to get him. The Mace will not find him. Killer Unicorn's getting poked out by Rinks. Will he go down here? Maybe, maybe not. He will. Rinks finding that one, and the Herald does go down. Who managed to get it? It's actually Pendulum, but who will they lose for it? That's the question. We did see Non-Stop Brain going down for HypE Esports right now. Timic extremely low, as is Yasuo only, but all the clones coming across. Rinks guesses right. He takes down Timic. It's a 2-for-1, but Pendulum do secure themselves here the Eye of the Herald, and we'll have to see where they opt to drop this one. It is going to be on Yasuo only, so most likely into the mid lane unless we see a good roam out from that mid lane here. Solo Flare coming down into the bot lane, followed by the Zenith Blade and a stun. That's a good 2 seconds there, but Ray just pumping out the damage. Fluff gets smashed, able to just keep him topped up for quite a while, and we are now down to supportal combat, but Kog'Maw's passive going to change that up, and it will be Fluff winning the support to support fight. And the entirety of the bot lane right now sitting on 1-1-1 for KDAs.
Yeah, and if you look, if you're a support player yourself, and if you're watching these games to try to, pick up a couple of things you could do differently, when you're in that situation and support on support fight, you have to factor in the minions because that's the main source of damage. Leona opting to fight into almost a full wave when she herself had no minions, and then the Kog'Maw passive also, it was never going to work out.
And mid lane, we see Tommy Peppers going after Yasuo only. He's completely ignoring Shelly there. He's only got Yasuo on his mind, and Timic now showing up. The double cyclone, is it going to be enough? No, the shield is absolutely massive. Will keep him safe, and Yasuo only barely surviving that turret shot there. And while all that action was happening, knowing Timic was in the mid lane, we see HypE getting themselves their first Drake, and it's going to be a great first Drake for them because it's the Ocean Drake here, meaning more regeneration, more safety in lane, and the ability to scale up a little bit to get that protect the cog composition online.
Yeah, and the next dragon being Ocean and then the soul being Ocean is going to be really important. The team's split 1-1 on the dragons right now. You already touched on that. You have to think that that Pendulum needs to prioritize the dragons over anything else here because without having much of a tank, it's really going to come down to can the full damage Wukong survive? And we got the engagement on.
And they do now get themselves another great bullet time engage here. Ray gonna go down. ADC's trading themselves over again, and this time we see the teleport coming from Rings as well. Seems like Fluff will Killer Lone Ninja will never get that 1v1 support there as Timic and Rings both show up, and they are just gonna disengage. So it was 1-1, and pardon me, as you mentioned, it is Ocean Soul, so it was Cloud Drake, not Ocean Drake, sorry, going down. So that is cooldown reduction, not regeneration into lane. Still going to be huge though for HypE, as they do have quite a few ultimates here that they can use for these team fights.
Yeah, and the ultimate cooldown is going to be really good, especially on the Death Realm, and especially with Sejuani being your main source of lockdown and initiation. I've played a lot of Sejuani myself, and the ultimate cooldown is always noticeable. Your ult is a really key part of most fights whenever you are Sejuani. And speaking of ults, I think this is the third in a row that I've seen just miss. Like, there's really no excuse. If you're in range, you got to be able to try to hit that. The Gnar wasn't really kiting there. I don't think there's even really a reason to throw it out in that position, honestly. But if you're just trying to get some confidence back in yourself, at least hit the ults when you can get them, especially in the top lane earlier. He missed one, and then Gnar managed to get back and hop out to safety. Like, that would have been a kill onto Orianna. Maybe you snowball even faster and find those next dragon fights. But this is HypE we're talking about, and so far they've shown pretty good ability to close out games or come back from them.
And perhaps it's just the Glacial Champions. We did see Ashe miss a whole bunch of arrows last game. This game, it looks like it's the Sejuani. So maybe it's HypE and Glacial Champions. We'll have to see for sure. And as you mentioned before, the Cloud Drake here does reduce the cooldown reduction. So it's noticeable, and there's no major objectives coming up for the next minute, for the next 2 minutes here. So that ultimate will be available again. Just no ganks, unfortunately, or no effective ganks with that Glacial Prison available. And actually, this bot lane so far, the Kog'Maw, we expected the MF Leona to be the dominant bot lane, but it's actually the Kog'Maw Lulu who's been doing really, really well for themselves, surprisingly here. And that's just really rough. Non-stop brain now in that bot side, clearing out the vision. They're setting up for either potential ganks or perhaps dragons. Meanwhile, Timic farming that top side, and we'll have to see if he opts to try and gank Tommy Peppers here. Will be a little risky because that is a Mordekaiser with the Death Realm, but hey, he's done it before. He might do it again.
Yeah, and you can be the better bot lane on paper, but not be the better bot lane on the Rift. And unfortunately, the strength of the Leona MF lane really does come from lane. So if you're falling behind or just trading even on these kills, like every time MF has killed Kog'Maw, he's killed MF. That is only going to go into favor of Kog'Maw because Kog'Maw scales better. He does more damage later on. So if you give him just as much gold as MF, then Kog'Maw is going to use that more effectively come late. And really, his build path is honestly pretty cheap. So without going lethality MF here, it's going to be kind of a race to whoever gets, the Rage Blade is going to come in, I think, before the Infinity Edge, or I guess they're going the Zeal item here onto MF. Maybe, what is that, Rapid Fire Cannon that she goes or something?
I don't know. She can go any option, really. I've seen quite a few different builds come out here, so we'll have to see. Can't tell from just the dagger. It might just be boots, actually, for now.
Yeah, that's a good point. It could still just be boots at this point. I don't know that you would really go into the second, or into the Zeal item before you complete the Infinity Edge. I think you just go Essence Infinity Edge and then look towards attack speed. But again, the Rage Blade, he's already closer to it. Plus, he's got the tier 2 boots up. With that pickaxe, he's like 800 or 900 gold from completing it, I think. So as long as Kog'Maw can keep even in gold here like they're doing, his items are just going to be cheaper and more efficient. He's already got 1.5 items up on her pretty much, if you factor in the boots. I think this could become a really out-of-hand Kog'Maw pretty quickly.
For sure, and that was great base timing from Ray there, as we do see the Ocean Drake coming up and everybody showing up to this party here. Killer Lil Ninja, though, is stuck in the pit. He has no flash available. This could be bad. The Solar Flare coming across does catch Ray and Fluff, but no one is there to take advantage of that. They've left Killer Lil Ninja in the pit, but they could afford to. The Dragon finished him off for them, and Ray is coming in big with a double kill. We do see the Death Realm as Snuggle, but he's dragged into there. The MF here could not get the full bullet time off. He's gonna go down. Now Tommy Pepper's caught between two. Is gonna get rooted up. The cleanse is gonna be enough. Rick's flashing over the wall to back him up. That's the shield, and it's gonna be clean from HypE. They get out. They don't lose a single person. Get 3 and Dragon to boot. No, actually, Pendulum stole the Dragon. It was Killer Unicorns with the Nah. I think it was a Boomerang that took that one there. Non-stop Brain continuing his inability to secure objectives here in this series. I think that's the third one that we've seen this series here where he has failed to secure an objective. They do at least pick 3 as well as the first turret though. So HypE still in a very, very solid position and in a gold lead here at 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to feel bad not to get that that Ocean Dragon. I actually didn't notice that it was stolen over either. We zoomed away to the fight. I just assumed that was already over. Wukong wasn't in the pit. That the story's written itself. But the flash out from Nico here to stay alive. And what can Pendulum, what can Pendulum Gaming even do here with what little advantage they have from doing that Dragon? Right now, probably not much. Their fight for that Dragon was one of the more disjointed fights we've seen this series. You had Leona caught off on the wrong side of the wall. I don't know if that was a blast cone that didn't meant to be taken, or maybe she was just clearing vision out anyway without flash. But we'll get back to that in a second, as I think Nara's probably dead here.
Yeah, the Blood of the Rune King comes out. He's going to go Mega, though. He gets a stun, and he actually gets out because that stun was on point, and Fluff was looking a little undecided what he wanted to do there. The speed buff came out a little too late, and Killer Unicorn just burning the flash, but keeping his life for now.
Yeah, I mean, you drop a word in the one brush that they chose not to word, and then Nari actually doesn't get out there.
And Killer Lil Ninja potentially getting caught out again. He has to burn his flash. That's going to be down once again. And was that the Solar Flare? No, it was just a shield popping. So yeah, Ray looking at he's starting to come online. Has the Gwinsu's Rage Blade and the Blade of the Ruin King already, and you can just see him running down. Now they're going to gift him the Rid buff as well. And if you thought it was terrifying before, now he's got speed boost, shields, and slows. Good luck getting away.
Yeah, and that's not even factoring in the Ardent Sensor here. Now, Leona should be
and a flash in from Ray. The Solar Flare gonna land. Is it gonna be able to keep Snugglebot alive? No! Because the living artillery dropping from above does just barely manage to pick Snugglebot up. And that MF pick right now struggling to lane against the superior range of Kog'Maw there.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing that should stop them from picking up this Baron. If they try to contest it, Mordekaiser can zone. He can alt Wukong out, like Pendulum Gaming should have been doing in the last series. So let's see how Mordekaiser actually plays this fight. He's going towards.
He doesn't have to do a single thing because Baron just gets absolutely melted. Blade of the Ruin King combined with the Kog'Maw W and the Rage Blade just sees Baron absolutely get shredded right now. And that's just so well played from HypE Esports. They deny all the vision, they take it. And unfortunately, we don't get to see Tommy Peppers pull off the maneuver that we were hoping for. That should have been done in the last game. But instead, they get Baron at 23 minutes. And that's going to be huge for them as they get a very, very quick turret right after that. And they are looking to get this mid lane inner turret as well.
I mean, it's even more ideal when your Mordekaiser doesn't have to use their ultimate there. if they just zone and put pressure on, that's effectively the same as
Oh,
using
and the Glacial Prison comes across. They get Yasuo only. He instantly pops. No chance to get real damage down, but they actually do get it onto Ray. Ray now stuck under the turret. Gonna take a lot of damage from that bolt tap. He goes down. The Death Realm comes across. Who's it on? It's on Snugglebutt, but Snugglebutt might actually be able to kill him there. Does manage to find it. That's going to be a triple going to nerf Snugglebutt. And despite what looked good initially, it's going to be Pendulum turning the tides right here. And they managed to find a bit, stop the Baron play for now, and they put pause on to HypE's push. Might even be able to counter push potentially.
Yeah, and they're pinging the dragon, and it's got 40 more seconds. They should be able to get this tier 2 if the mini wave catches there in time. It doesn't look like it's going to reach before the enemy team, so you know, it's nice to try to get that tier 2, but the dragon's going to be a good consolation prize too. They have to start going down there and getting vision around it. And Leona's only got 1 ward and no pinks. She's got to buy pink wards here. If she doesn't buy pink wards, okay, there we go. I was going to say, if she buys cloth armor over pink wards for that dragon, that is a huge mistake. But not Pendulum. They're just going to recall out of here with the dragon in 10 seconds. They're just going to give this up completely. That's a huge mistake.
Well, they still have 2 members here, and we did see Yasuo only teleport to that top lane, get themselves another turret as well to try and catch up on gold. He's running back right now as fast as he can towards that Ocean Drake, and for now, it looks like they'll actually get there in time because HypE did not turn and burn, but the Living Artillery comes out. Oh. Solar Flare goes the wrong direction. Timmy gets a beautiful backline access, a 4-5-man Cyclone, but where's the rest of his team? They're finally here. The bullet time comes across, and they do manage to find 2, and it's right now a 2 for 3, but Rinks is still alive for now. The command shockwave was already used. They're going to back off, and it is going to be the Ocean Drake hit it towards Pendulum because they did manage to burst Ray immediately right off the bat, and that does seem to be the key to the fights right now. Take Ray down, and you've got free access here, but they are going in. They do not manage to get the dragon. Are they going to try and look for some kills? A beautiful 2-man snare is going to stop this, and now Killer Unicorns, just like Killer Little Ninja, was stuck in there. Does have to hop, though. Will be able to get out, and now Killer Little Ninja having to run away. Can he make it? No more slows to come out, and they're going to disengage. It looks like will be just fine for now.
Yeah, I think they probably should have turned to fight that because MF has 2 items here, and she's up against a Mordekaiser who she just killed in the last fight, as well as a half-elf Orianna and Lulu. Lulu doesn't have the ultimate up. They would have seen her use that in the last fight, so I think they could have gone for the dragon and then just immediately also tried to force. They're trying to play it a little bit safe. They got on Soul Point. You know, they get out without losing anything. But I don't think there's too much harm in trying to find 1 or 2 extra kills there because that could actually lead into some tower pressure later on once you get that reset in. But with death timers as they are, I can't really fault them for just getting out cleanly. They've been burned a lot by overstaying in this series, and it looks like they're actually focusing on not doing that as much, which is a big improvement.
For sure, it is a bit of an advantage here, but my concern with Pendulum is kind of the opposite here. As in Game 2, we saw them reluctant to pull the trigger, and that cost them the game. And I'm just hoping that this isn't a sign of Pendulum being scared once again to pull the trigger, because that can cost them. And I don't think that they scale better than HypE Esports here with that Kog'Maw versus MF matchup for the ADCs, not to mention Mordekaiser becoming a bigger and bigger monster into the late game. That being said, they might be down gold right now, but they've actually held off the Baron push quite admirably here and have managed to pick themselves up quite a few souls. They're already at soul point here. And as to the bot lane, Killer Unicorns was getting collapsed on, did back out just in time as they did clear wards out. So unfortunately, HypE not going to be able to find anything for now. And instead, Snugglebutt looking to just push down that mid lane as fast as he can. Try and sneak an air turret. He might be able to do this. And it's going to be a bit of a base race here as it looks like HypE looking for that bot side while it is going to be Snugglebutt pushing the mid side. But he's backed off and HypE now on the inside track for this bot lane push.
Yeah, HypE should be able to pick up this tower if they just keep the pressure on. They don't seem to have the problem that Pendulum does.
And they do now get the initiate. As you said, they pull the trigger. A beautiful Glacial Prison. It seems that Nonstop Brain has shaken off that Glacial issue there and lands the prison full up with an amazing shockwave. That's instantly 2 down there, as well as the inner turret. And they can look to continue pushing. HypE not struggling to pull the trigger at all here in this game 3.
Yeah, there's really no reason to be staying there either. The tier 2 tower does almost nothing for you, especially in the bot side. It's not really even going to slow down rotations. Like, if that's a mid tier 2, it has more value, but giving up 2 kills and then losing it anyway, that's just kind of pointless.
And now Timmy finding that beautiful 4-man ultimate. The bullet time comes across. It only rakes 2 though, and they quickly get out of range. Non-stop brain is kind of low. Will get taken down, but right now that is a 4-for-1. It was not worth, as Ray just pops off. The Runan Hurricanes completed as well. You could see the amount of spittle coming out of his mouth, more than the ones coming out of my mouth right now. And they take the inhibitor turret real, well, I say it's early, it's not that early anymore. 28 minutes, 29 minutes, they get the inhibitor turret, they get the inhibitor as well. They've cracked the base, they're going for the mid side as well. HypE looking to just absolutely push their advantages right now. Solar Flare comes out, it's only going to get Fluff gets smashed here, and they're not going to want to catch only the ADC after grabbing 2 inhibitors. It is going to be HypE backing out. Are they going to go for Baron here? We see the ping coming down, but that's Pendulum pinging that. They've got no vision whatsoever on the map pretty much. Like, just a bit down at the bot side, but nothing even close on the top side. And for HypE Esports, they still have most of the entrances warded here, so we'll be able to spot out Pendulum coming in.
Yeah, and with Soul spawning in 1 minute, they should have the time to get this Baron, recall, and come back in time to contest both objectives. So there's really no saving grace right now for Pendulum. They have to choose either pull the trigger here
and
or not.
And a beautiful 2-man Shockwave is going to delay this, but it's going to be a steal from Timic! The Baron steal! Non-stop brain! It must be hating himself right now. And the fight continues to break out, and it's looking like Pendulum's got this one because they took so much damage already. They found Ray immediately. They get themselves an ace for 2, and Baron to boot. You sit the dragon spawning, the souls coming, and Pendulum are in prime position to get themselves the Baron and the soul. And we might see another reversal here, this time from Pendulum, looking to stay into the series and keep their playoff dreams alive.
Yeah, and this was actually a really good read from Gnar here as well. He's got teleport up, so he sees that top wave is crashing into the tier 2, and he should be able to just get that as well with the Baron. All in all, a beautiful steal, and you see the essence of the Pendulum comp coming through in most of these fights. They're finding the big wombo combos, you know, a huge Pop Blossom there, really turning the tides of the fight, locking down 3 members and doing huge amounts of damage. As long as they can focus on what they do well, which is that combination, and not so much what they're not doing well, which is, you know, going in just a little bit too early, or flashing and overcommitting, or, you know, the ultimate and then not coming back. MF should not be backing here. Okay.
Nope, and the back actually gets cancelled. Timic actually flashing out of the pit there. That's going to cost him. That will not be available to engage his Cyclone, which is going to be coming off cooldown any second right now. And we do see Yasuo only coming out of base. He's probably not going to get there to the fight in time. We saw how quickly HypE Esports just shredded Baron, and this is only a dragon. It's got a lot less health here. They could just pull the trigger. They're going to start it up, living artillery, to pull out the Drake here. And is there going to be sufficient vision for Pendulum? Doesn't matter, because they found Rinks instead, and Rinks getting melted. That is a huge ultimate being used already. Cyclone going to be down for the next fight here. And the Glacial Prison stops the engage for now. Killer Unicorns is isolated. Ray popping on. He shreds down Nerf Snuggle, but can they kill Ray? Maybe they can. Yes, they can. Killer Unicorns gets him, and that's the bulk of HypE Esports damage down. Now it's going to be Timic dead. He was already extremely low. Non-stop brain is so tacky right now. Without Snugglebutt to shred him, they're taking a day and a half to kill him, but they do finally get him, and now Yasuo only chasing after Fluff. Easy catch here. He does not land the snare, but he's got more than enough damage here. Just needs one more spell. Can he do it? No. The slow is good. And they actually have to back off because their base is in shambles. Just the one Nexus turret still standing here. They did lose a Nexus turret there. And meanwhile, Tommy Pepper's not deigning to join the fight at the Dragon. He's going for turrets instead. HypE makes the decision to give Soul over for this jungle pressure. Now we're seeing a teleport come in. It's going to be from Rings. It's too little, too late. And all he's going to see is the remains of a soul, which has gone the way of Pendulum Gaming here.
Yeah, I was questioning the Mordekaiser being up top the whole time, you know, cutting off the team fight, and then they also caught Orianna right off the bat. If Orianna's the one that took teleport, Orianna should be the one splitting, in my opinion. Without being able to re-enter the fight, especially on Soul, you have to have all members there because you have to deny the Soul. If you don't, which, it's not like the Soul really won them the game in the last fight with Inferno Soul, but this is Ocean Soul, and a lot of teams do prioritize this a lot more. It gives them all much more like effective tankiness in fights. Now suddenly damage Wukong can become kind of tanky Wukong because he keeps damaging it and getting the health back. So overall, I think it's just mismanagement of the Mordekaiser positioning there, and Pendulum, as poorly as they've kind of played around the objectives, or they felt like they've played around the objectives, they've actually been securing dragons really well as even barons. It's just what they managed to do with it after they secure it, where they've been falling short. Let's see if it's different this game. You'd have to hope so.
For sure, and we can see both teams are neck to neck right now in terms of gold, and that means Pendulum has the advantage in terms of effective stats, but we are starting to hit that point here where it's becoming real scary. Ray has picked up a Quicksilver Sash for himself, as well as, interestingly enough, a Morello's here, rather than that Executioner's calling to cut healing debuff. He's going for a bit of a hybrid build here, that he is basically coming online, only waiting to complete that last item. And so as time ticks on here, Pendulum starting to lose the advantage here from that MF composition. Glacial Prison comes out, will not find anybody at all, and the cooldown is still about 80 seconds here for Non-Stop Brain, so will not be available for this inhibitor here, but it is an exposed inhibitor, so they're looking to do this one here. They engage the knock-up instead, and they do use the command shockwave, but only finds one, and Ray just gets bursted down despite all the shields and heals and the wild growth as well, and that's going to be the fight stopped dead in its tracks. Rinks running away. Tommy Peppers again not with the team, was looking for the split push, is trying to run away, and Pendulum now in a very, very strong position for themselves. He's going to have to flash out, but he will remain safe. Tommy Peppers, one of the two sole survivors here for the side of HypE Esports.
Yeah, and the Nico Pop Blossom has been really, really good for these fights. They've been laying their crowd control really well, and they've actually they've played the Wombo combo all 3 games, but this is the first time that they've actually been able to execute it somewhat successfully. It hasn't been perfect in the fights, they're not finding that huge 5-man grouping, but they're finding a grouping of 3, and that's more than enough to win it. Once your ultimates go down, you still have damage to back it up. You've got MF, and you've got Leona to lock somebody down, as well as a Wukong, who continues to go mostly damage. He's actually building towards what appears to be either a Thormail or a Frozen Heart here, maybe. It's kind of difficult to tell from where he is right here. I think that's going to become a Bramble Vest. Okay, and now picking up the Giant Fault as well, so that continues to puzzle me as to what that item is. Maybe just building a lot of things all at once. But overall, with the Ocean Soul, they're just finding good fights, but they're late to this Baron, and they're going to have to face check it. Leona ults down. This could be really dangerous.
But for now, HypE is taking a lot of damage on this Baron that they're starting up. The ball comes out, but he is stunned up, and it's going to be Tommy Pepper's going down. A beautiful 3-man shockwave, but doesn't catch Timmick. He's in the back line, but is Ray alive? That's the only win condition he is for now. He's turning back around, dodges out that huge brick, and he's going to start up the Raptors here to try and get some lifesteal, but it won't be enough. The chunk coming out from Snugglebutt absolutely wrecks him there, and Snugglebutt winning the ADC fight. He got himself a triple kill, and it's going to be Pendulum going for the Baron. We're starting to see the reverse of game 2, with Pendulum coming back from a huge deficit to try and win this game 3 here. And the Baron is being started up. Rinks looking for a steal. Can he make it happen? He throws the ball and he gets it! The steals this series have been insane! Timmick stealing the last Baron. This time it's Rinks coming in and stealing that against the side of Pendulum. And that's because there was no smite. Timmick was already dead, and the game goes on.
Yeah, no smite, but also no control ward whatsoever. There's just no counter vision to stop Orianna from doing that. And if nobody's even going to try to zone, they'd probably deserve to lose that Baron. Orianna's just on the other side of that wall. They saw her on a ward. What are you doing taking that Baron there? Go push a mid laner, split your pressure. When you've only got 1 member up to try to defend, you don't just try to force just all 3 members into that wave clear lane. You try to split it out. Maybe the Baron isn't the perfect call there, although it looks like it's going to be really good. If you don't have the smite and you can't secure it, then Orianna's just going to take it for free. She's the only one with Baron now alive on the map. And let's see what HypE can actually do with that stolen Baron, as Elder's going to be up in 36 seconds. And again, HypE is first to this objective.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they can do anything, but just deny it was huge. And honestly, right now, I'm not sure if I'm watching PLG or CLG, because that was some huge counter logic plays coming out of that Baron, as you pointed out. There's just no reason why that happened. And instead of the Elder, it looks like they might just fight on open ground here. Solar Flare comes across, and we do see Ray on the side. He's on his own, no peel whatsoever. Where is all his shields and heals? He goes down, and that's the team fight at a rough start, but Ring's able to find Timic. Pop Blossom comes across. Do they find anybody? Yes, they do. It's non-stop Brain slowly getting shredded down here, and they find another one. Celebut just popping off this game. He's 13, 6, and 10, and they have traded 1 for 3. They're going to look for this push. They might not have Baron, but they can certainly try and still find themselves some turrets.
You know, they're going to try to end here instead of going to Elder. I think that that's a mistake, but Timic's down, so they're not going to try to make the repeat of getting something stolen. It's a little bit safer here because they have so much more numbers, and the pit is open on their side. It favors them being able to do it. They've got vision control throughout the jungle. They can clear out these wards, and then they can look to take this Elder. If anyone comes to contest, they just peel off it and choose to fight. But this should be Elder going over really quickly, as long as they take a recall and then go fight. But
and Riggs is coming in. Is he going to find the steal? Solar Flare doesn't find him. Zenith Blade neither, but they have successfully zoned him out this time. They took notes from the last Baron there, and they do manage to secure themselves Elder. Pendulum still in the driver's seat, and now it becomes that question of, can Pendulum close this out? Because in game 2, we saw that they were unable to close it out despite a lead, despite getting Elder, despite getting Baron. Are we going to see a repeat of game 2 here?
There's potential. I mean, at this point, they're in the driver's seat pretty heavily. They've got much more of a gold lead than they had before to be able to close this out. But again, it's really late. So it just depends if Kog'Maw can stay alive and stay safe. You know, he's got the QSF. That's not going to really save him from too much here. Like, the main combination is the Wukong ult into the Leon ult into the Pop Blossom while the bullet time's going down. So I understand the QSS is kind of necessary, but if he's going AP anyway, maybe even a Banshee Drill or a stopwatch is probably better here. I would say stopwatch personally. If you're going to go down the Morellas anyway, I think it's just probably a better item to avoid all of the damage in stun conditions completely.
And I mean, to be fair to Ray, he's also been pumping out. He's 12, 9, and 8 right now. So yes, you're right. He is getting caught out. He's also the win condition here, and he is kind of doing his job in terms of putting out the damage. The question is, can he sustain the damage? Because right now, he's just been front-loading the damage, almost like a burst mage, and then he just gets burst down right now. And I think partially it's on him, but partially it's also on his the rest of his team, because we saw in that last fight, he got isolated on the side by Timic. By Killer Unicorns or Timic, can't remember who zoned him out there, but he had no peel whatsoever. There was no shields, no heals, no wild growth for him, because everybody else was stuck in the mid lane instead. And now it looks like we're actually having a disconnect from Killer Lil Ninja. They've run out the pause time, and it looks like he will not be back. So Pendulum going to try and play this one out 4v5 here.
That could just be the worst outcome for them right now. If Leona really is out for the rest of the series, that is really, really bad, because Leona is such an important part of this fight. Luckily, I guess if there's any saving grace in the AFK, it's the fact that they have 2 minutes to come back into the game before anything really happens. 1 minute into this Baron, and then 3 minutes into Elder. But honestly, if they're not going to come back in time, I think that it's already kind of a coin toss with Pendulum winning this. And to get back to the Kog'Maw point, I don't believe that Kog'Maw actually is getting caught out. I think that he's just getting focused really well on team fights. The fact that there isn't peel is pretty alarming, but also there's really no way to peel that situation. As long as Lulu stays back, which to my knowledge she has been, and just throws down the ult on the Kog'Maw as soon as he gets initiated on, that's all the peel they can do. Everything else is long range or wombo combos. You can't peel a Pop Blossom unless maybe you get a polymorph off in time. I'm not sure how that interaction works. But they're playing this as if they still have Leona. I don't know if maybe HypE doesn't realize that she's gone yet. But sooner or later they're going to find out, because they're not going to have as much vision control. And they're probably going to have to give up this next Baron, which is just really unlucky.
And right now, there is still some remnants of that vision control from Pendulum Gaming, and it looks like they're just simply waiting for the Baron to spawn here. And if you look over the side of HypE, they've actually been shoved into their base. They have hardly any vision outside their base except for this one lonely ward here. There is the teleport coming down now onto Baron though, and it is going to be Pendulum starting this one up. And despite being a man down, they might actually get this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good timing around this Baron. As they saw at least multiple people bot. They get the free Baron in the 4v5, you know, at least Leona's going to be able to save Baron no matter what happens in this upcoming fight. So as long as they're not trying to force a fight with the Baron, like we've seen a lot of silver teams, even gold teams, including myself, do it. The Baron buff, when I used to play in like Season 2 and 3, it would be a really good combat buff. But now it's not as much of a combat buff as it is a sieging buff. So a lot of the younger teams, or teams that don't really know the great macro play throughout League of Legends, they tend to use it too much as a combat augmentation and not enough as a siege tool to enable any team to be able to comfortably siege a Nexus and break the base. I think that the current Baron buff is a fantastic buff, but I don't think that the way that some teams have been using it, and especially last series, they got the Baron buff and then they just decided to all in. Have some more patience here, let it whittle you down, put multiple members in your side lanes here, you've got the waves pushed up, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to just pressure every part of the base and force them to respond. Spread out their wave clear and just wait.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure by now they are aware that Kilo Ninja has disconnected, so definitely going to just waiting out is a definite viable possibility here for them. But there is Ocean Soul on the side of Pendulum, so they can afford to actually just siege this up. The shockwave comes across, but the damage is just a bit lacking here, it looks like. Timic the only one really getting chunked, and again, triple Ocean Drake, Ocean Soul, he can heal it up, and we can see the Living Artillery coming down. It's not really working out, and we do see the QSS was sold. It's the Death Dance actually coming out from Ray here. That's the option he's going to use to try and survive it, and I actually kind of like it.
A lot of AD carries have been taking Death Dance in the pro scene, and it's just a really good item. Not only is it incredibly strong, but it turns every AD carry into, what, like a 40% tankier build no matter what they're doing. So the fact that the Merlo also has health, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And he's also got, 300 health. So he's got some health, and he's still got the healing reduction that he would have gotten from going Executioner's Calling or something. But this is a big oversight. They're trying to see.
I actually really like this from Pendulum. They know they're not going to win a fight on open ground with uneven numbers, so they're taking the last of their Baron buff, and they're looking to race this Elder here. The Elder has gone down, but the inhibitor's cracked open. Can they actually get the Nexus here? There is a lot of damage from Snugglebutt, and this is the last moment here. They're going to push in. They get both the Nexus starts. They're onto the Nexus here. It's the final countdown. Timic going in. The Cyclone doesn't quite stop them, and they get forced off the death round for Snugglebutt, and things are just going south so quickly. Unfortunately for Pendulum, the last-ditch effort doesn't go in. Their large siege minion not able to find the turret for them, and this is probably going to be game from HypE Esports here.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I don't know, that was a really, it was well done at the core, I guess. They did get both of the Nexus towers, but I think at the end, they just managed to throw. You know, they still don't have the support, and now they've got to fight up against an Elder buff. Racing that buff to get back to the base is pretty risky, especially because they didn't just all-out commit to focusing that Nexus, which means they're probably going to end up losing here. It would have been so great to see what happened if Leona didn't disconnect, because I think that we would have at least gotten a Game 4, and who knows if we get a Game 4, maybe we get a Game 5. Seeing it end like this, after so much turmoil and so much commitment from Pendulum to build the good comps, to play them out well, to get all the objectives. They got 2 souls in 2 games, but then to come up short and end it like that, it's really disappointing to me. To me, that game should have gone a little bit differently, sieging with the first Baron. Because they didn't have the Leona anyway, they shouldn't be looking to group up regardless. You know, they don't need to group up because their ultimate goal isn't fighting. If they put Nico, MF Wukong in the mid lane, or sorry, MF Leona in the mid lane, Wukong bot and Nico top, then they pressure every lane at the same time. And if anyone shows up, the two lanes with CC just kind of kite back. Wukong and Nico both have a lot of survivability there, as well as a ton of damage to find a 1v1. And then the mid lane duo is just so coordinated. I think the game goes a little bit differently for them. You know, if they get triple inhibs off of that Baron, there's no way that HypE is able to leave the base in order to get the Elder Dragon. And I would really want to know what happened in order for them to even get into that position. It looked like their wave should have been pushed into tower the whole time because Pendulum never left mid lane.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was so close, and just the slightest of margins. Like you said, if it gets to the point where fights start to become on a knife's edge, either team can really take it, and that's exactly what happened here. Unfortunately for Pendulum, really just it feels bad, to end the series this way here. And we do see this game turned out to be a battle of the ADCs here, with Raid going 15-9-8 on the Kog'Maw, and you look at the other side, Nerf Snugglebutt going 13-7-10 here. It really came down to which ADC was able to pump out the most damage in these fights, with everybody else playing sort of a supporting role to these damage dealers here. And with that, it is going to be HypE moving on to the final. HypE did not manage to beat Pendulum in the regular season, but they do it now and here when it matters. Congratulations to HypE here as they go into the finals. They will be playing against that unstoppable giant that is Roar Yordos. And so that should be a HypE match for next week with the finals. And with that, we are the semifinals here of the Silver Division today. We still do have the rest of the Gold games on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So do... excuse me. Do check the schedule below in the panels at the Twitch channel there to take a look at what time the actual games are going to be scheduled. And with that, Chaotic Obsidian, thanks for joining me. Is there anything you'd like to say to the chat and the viewers here before we sign out?
Yeah, I mean, just that, HypE seemed to flip a different switch that we never really saw in the regular season, in my opinion, especially up against Pendulum, coming out with a clean 3-0. The last game, maybe it does fall down to the DC, but because of what happened in game 2, I'm not 100% convinced either. They have an even bigger win condition from Ray in order to really secure the damage and the picks. Kog'Maw's a little bit squishier than Ashe, but I think that the damage that they put out was still insane. They had a great series. Everybody looked really good. The macro game was very good. And winning 2 games after losing the Dragon Souls, especially because they weren't even Cloud Souls, I gotta say, HypE looked really good.
For sure. So definitely there is a chance there. Just because Yordos have not lost series before doesn't mean it won't start now. And with all the hype that HypE Esports has, unintended pun, sorry, with all the momentum that HypE Esports has going into the finals, they can definitely make a solid case to take down and Yordos and win the championship here. And with that, we're done for today. So thank you all for tuning in. Please do join us throughout the rest of the week here. And with that, we are going to sign off. So thank you for tuning in here. Have a good rest of the day.